Okay, item number 3, appointment of alternates. No needs. 4, acceptance of minutes for the regular meeting held on January 16th.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, public comments. Please stand and state your name and your address.
Daniel, come up there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Daniel Whitman, 92 Carroll Street, here in town.
Okay.
For quite a while now, it's bothered me, I'm sure it bothers many, how you have to drive on the wrong side of the street on many of the streets in this town. And because they're just so narrow, Carroll Street's a very good example. You pretty much have to be on the other side of the road, the other side of the yellow line the whole way down, mostly Central Avenue School down. High Street, Hill Street, you know, that's just where I'm from. And it certainly poses accidents to happen. And then the driver's at fault because he's over the yellow line. And it's either that or hit the cars that are parked there. My only suggestion would be either, you know, rob 1.5 feet off each sidewalk to make the road wider, or just get rid of one side of the road of sidewalks. You don't need them on both sides. A crossing walk maybe here and there, but for the most part, if like Central Avenue doesn't use the school anymore, there's no reason why they need 2 sidewalks on each side. That would help tremendously. Or like I say, you know, grab 1 or 2 from each side, widen the road. You know, most people don't have driveways on a lot of these roads, so they have to park in the street. So I can't see any other alternative is to do something with the sidewalks. Like I say, I live on Carroll Street. As soon as I pass the school, Central Avenue, I pretty much got to cross the yellow line all the way down to Maple Street. It's just unavoidable. Everybody's going to start taking off car mirrors and doors.
Yeah, Chief, so are you familiar with that? We had a lot of issues in that area in terms of accidents and such.
I'm not aware really of, you know, an uptick of accidents or anything, but as far as, you know, the parking, there's some stuff at our level we could do. We could see if there's, you know, what the status is, if there are any additional parking that we could impose, like parking bans or anything else. But I mean, you pointed to the fact that there's limited number of driveways, and what's probably ultimately going to resolve this is an engineering study or look at whether or not the construction of the road can be benefited. I mean, we're on board with that. So as far as widening the road or controlling it or anything else, we have limited, you know, we can make a recommendation, we can look into it, we can task an officer to look into it and see if we can forward a formal recommendation up for engineering study or further widening or limiting parking on the side of the road. That would be probably options that we could do here as far as forwarding it over to the town for construction.
I was younger, I used to build roads, and it was always a minimum road had to be, I think it was 9 feet, if I remember right. In many years, but the travel lane had to be 9 feet. There's no way that's 9 feet.
Was there a grandfather with a lot of the old roads? I think they're grandfathered in, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with construction that went in prior to, you know, STC, like the state traffic control roadway standards and universal widths and everything else prior to that. So zoning and width and size of lots has been an issue too with some of the roads. So we have some issues over on East Ward Street is a frequent complaint we got for trying to access or parking over there.
The whole Cliff Street area, you're familiar with. I think of your issue, I think your area, the High Street, and then the Cliff, that whole block, Frederick and George and Cliff. And you know, we made a part of Cliff Street one way. We can do things with traffic flow and parking. Parking's a give and a take though, because you have people saying, well, we need to make the road wider. It's the easiest way to say don't park on the road. And then every single resident in Carroll Street comes down and says they can't park.
Sure.
You know, so it's a give and a take. But I think at Cliff Street area too, recently, we just made had to make one section one way, which is a lot easier to do there than there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think an example would be having them turn at Central Avenue and going down behind the school, and then from, what's that church, Bay Street up, one way up to the school. that's, you know, a study would have to be conducted.
Yeah, coming down would be impossible, trying to pull out onto Maple Street.
I mean, it's just
Chasing
not.
a bus or something, and it just
Yeah.
backs up everything.
Yeah, coming down Central is tough, but more people use Carroll Street than people think, like,
Like a pass through.
Cliff is very resident, it's definitely more of a pass through than
Yeah.
anything else, a little busier than I think people think it is.
And it's got a lot more to do than just, you know, making the sidewalks smaller, you know, you have utilities, you got telephone poles, fire hydrants, all that, you know, has to come into play as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that side of the sidewalk scheduled for the next sidewalk,
They just did them all.
they did Central Avenue side?
Yeah, I don't know about Central Avenue itself, but I know Carroll Street they just did.
On both sides?
Yeah, you probably don't recognize me then. I'm the famous sidewalk guy from 2010. Remember any of that?
I thought I read that
When they told me I
Central
was
Avenue
responsible for
side
the
was
sidewalk,
scheduled.
the media, Fox News, Channel 8, they covered me like crazy. Because it's so wrong. They told me I was responsible for the sidewalk in front of my house, even though I had my land surveyed. And I didn't own the sidewalk, but they said I was responsible for it to rebuild it. I rebuilt it, and then a year later, I get a note in my door, I have the car off the street next week, we're doing the sidewalks, everybody. And the mayor just dug his feet in and wouldn't budge, the Burgesses, they just, and the media just loved it. These attorneys from North Haven called me and asked me if they could represent me just for the fun of it. I swear I'm quoting that, no cost. And they drug, like I said, they made it go 2 years of being embarrassed by the media. And, so I'm very familiar with the sidewalks.
So for right now, so the chief, you gotta take a look at this, get back to this gentleman. And then, and present some recommendations so we can minimize the challenge.
You just leave your information with Katie, we'll do an officer follow up, we'll do a traffic study on our level, which isn't an engineering study, but it would be looking at voltage control, which is generally traffic control and traffic flow.
Parking flow.
Yeah, and if their recommendation is for more of an engineering, then that would go to the town level.
Name, address, and phone number.
Yeah, an email too.
Do you have yeah, your best contact information, email's the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You might go right.
I'll walk you out.
Yeah. Central Avenue, so that's the first issue. I read some. I would telephone
I also don't
poles
want
are-
to say.
All right, so let's move on to item 6, union business. Any union business? There are none. Item 7, presentation of chief's monthly report.
We do not have our, well, we just got one officer off FTO. Last Wednesday, Officer Feliciano from New Haven, so that will help a little bit, but first 3 probably aren't due to be finished with FTO until April. We have 4 total in the academy still, 3 in Waterbury and 1 at Post. We are making headway in our current process and hope to have some candidates for your review at a special meeting coming up. This is kind of crunch week to see how they'll be looking after polygraphs and psychs. That seems to be our, not just our problem, everybody's in the hiring process right now. But our hopes are up that we'll have some candidates it's an easy overtime, but I mean, this is to be projected with the retirement of about 8 officers within the last 12 months. I don't think we're gonna get on the other side of this until probably summertime. I can see ourselves being back to our targeted overtime numbers, which is about $10,000 to $12,000 a week in overtime, and that will carry us with the budget. But, you know, we were only at that for a brief period last year, and then retirement happened, and the bottom fell out, so. We did do something, we'll be rolling out very soon with the pre-existing alarm ordinance. We did have that previously here. We've had a couple businesses, I'm gonna name any specific names right now, but they are just habitual offenders. I mean, like multiple times a day, multiple times in a row, and their response has been, we don't feel like fixing our alarm, we can't get the birds that are living on top of the thing out, so you just have to come constantly. So as of March 1st, we're gonna go live with the warnings and hopefully that will come up with some solutions on their end. I mean, it's a complete draw on our resources, and we'll call everybody else. We have to run out like clockwork to go to a couple of these repeat offenders, and we're hoping that, you know, this isn't supposed to be a revenue generator, but at the same time, we're kind of, you know, we can only ask them nicely to the manager, but you know, it's a 20-something-year-old kid who's like, yeah, I'm called corporate, they don't care, so. That's, like I said, not a new initiative, that's something we're choosing to enforce again, so be prepared if you get any outreach from the community. I don't think any mom and pop residences, local businesses are gonna be, it's mainly the corporate ones who they're just a faceless company, we just have no one to deal with, so we're just sending the bill. We'll just pay it, and they'll probably get reimbursed for the usage of our services.
Are we still using the green tags, yellow tags? So that's their first warning, right?
As part of the training the officers too, is make sure we're obviously we still have those, but if we're gonna to go this route, they have to be 100% on those and issue those.
If we start getting complaints, once you're getting fines, then we probably either we bring them in here, or we do like we did before with that subcommittee meeting. So we don't have to deal with it and take time away from this meeting. But give us a heads up, so Ralph could put a subcommittee together to have to hear the complaints.
We'll see if we get a lot of pushback on that. You know, I'm not sure. It's a weird time with corporate. They really don't. I honestly think they'll just send us a check for the bill. I don't.
It's probably easier to get it fixed.
So, but remains to be seen. I think it's you know, it was across the board positive administratively, you know, and also allocation of resources, and then lastly, morale for the officers who are frustrated with like, how do we fix this problem? Because we kind of drove into them repeat things like, can we fix them? And you know, something they came up with too. So, any other questions?
The 4 officers at the academy, when are they scheduled to work at?
So the 4 in Waterbury are scheduled to graduate in April 17th, I believe. It's a Wednesday, I think. And they will be out. Officer De Silva's, you know, signed to the cadre up there, so he's been training them, and they seem to be doing well. And then the other one in Meriden should be done, I believe, in July. So we have 3 seats at Meriden on April 5th, and up to 3 seats at Waterbury in May. So that may leave us with a slight surplus, but you know, we do have 1 officer who's in the lateral process but isn't sure, but is thinking about it, doesn't know. And then I believe 2 impending retirements, plus if the budget, which I'll be presenting on March 11th, goes through, we will be hiring a 61st officer, which will SRO at high school, which still counts towards minimum manpower. Something we've been dealing with for years.
So a half and half.
Yeah, well, no, it's not. Yeah, he counts towards shifts, so technically they can pull him from the school still. We were able to, when we implemented every other SRO, hire specifically for that position, but that original one is still contracted, so I think we'll be in a good spot. You know, the budget seems like it's a pretty conservative presentation. We're at about 2.7, 2.9% increase. Most of it's just wages, so there's a year to add, and it's now, so I think if we have a little bit of a buffer and we're ready for a few months, we're gonna see, you know, impact and overtime. You know, it's always been wait till somebody leaves, but finally getting ahead may help us. So 5 to 6 is what I would anticipate if we can get the candidates.
Who do we have, that's kind of almost out the door for the next?
Lieutenant Poundstone is retiring, I believe, July 5th. And then training officer Matt Silva he's eligible in October, I believe he's gonna go December 31st.
So for this year, at this point, it's two,
Yes.
but when we have these guys on board by July, we should be balanced off.
We should be, yeah, we hopefully.
And then those that we're planning to interview on the 29th, how many positions are we looking to?
I'd like to get 5 or 6 out of this. Like I said, I think that with the retirements, with our current vacancies, that will put us with a buffer of 1 or 2. And I think that by the time we get out of the academy, we will. I know it's something different, but we've always reconciled overtime from salary and run short. If we reconcile salary from overtime for once for being heavy, it's, it's $50,000. It would make sense that would make 6 months to have 2 extra officers on the roster. And that would be a good spot, but we'll see what the candidates are. I mean, I think that it'll be a good spot if we get good ones. So.
Any questions? For Chief?
So.
Second.
Any discussion? On the favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Correspondence?
Any correspondence here? It says, on January 19, 2024, Chief McAllister received the following email pertaining to an incident in which a parent showed up at Andrew Avenue School intoxicated. Officer Cato, Officer McGuire, and Sergeant St. George responded to the incident while dispatcher Roy dispatched the call. Quote, as part of the Andrew Avenue support staff, I had to call police to interview in an incident on January 18th. The dispatcher's professionalism was calming in this particular stressful situation. At the time, was able to gain valuable information to ensure police could quickly respond to the incident. Once officers arrived, they took control of the scene, ensured that it was rendered safe while conducting a thorough and professional investigation. As part of our community, I want to express my gratitude and thanks for the dispatcher and the officer's quick and professional response. And this was sent by Jessica Como. She's a school social worker at Brook Elementary School and Elementary School. What time of day was that?
School pickup in the afternoon.
Okay, it wasn't 8 o'clock in the morning, so.
No.
Wasn't midnight at Barclays either.
I have a report here from Lieutenant Bailey, January 12th, 2023, at this department social media page received 2 different messages with regards to school resource officer Robert Fulton. The first message was from Tiffany Ann, who stated, "You guys are wonderful, just thought the police department should have this picture of the amazing resource officer." Second message was from Julianne DeWitt, who also was quoted as best resource officer at the Early Education Center at Central Avenue School, and we love him and we had to give him a shout out. The aforementioned messages have been updated to external apps, uploaded to external apps, and this request is being documented to be placed in Officer Fulton's personal file.
Thank you. Moving on to item 9, discussion possible action for the land use application for Auburn Street lot number 9 for the purpose of adding 750 cubic yards of material to a residential lot.
So I reviewed this earlier. One thing that popped up that I saw that they go to confirm, there was a comment in here that actually made the bringing in the material past tense in here. It confirms that that was done past tense, so this is an after the fact thing. It's on a side road. There's no impact to public safety, as I can see this. They're just doing this as a matter of fact because the zoning officer lives on the street.
Yeah, it seems like, I
So-
don't even know that there's a certain amount where.
What about on Auburn?
It's, when you go all the way up and there's that.
That
new
cul-de-sac,
development,
yeah.
Yeah, there's one empty lot.
Okay,
Uh,
in the actual circle.
Yeah, and they started filling it because it's tapered off. And they just have to get.
I don't see any reason to not, entertain a motion to, have you entertain a motion to accept the,
I'd like a motion to approve.
I'll say.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, public comments. Any additional public comments? Nobody is.
No one's on, no.
Okay. Item 11, open items, there is none. Commissioners.
Nothing.
Iris.
Okay.
did have to call, because there was a, strange vehicle parked on the street. So I called dispatch from my home landline. Number. Rang, went busy, disconnected. So I mentioned it to dispatcher Roy, he says he hasn't even had any issues with the phone system. Just letting you know it's still an issue, because when I dialed right after that from my cell phone, it went right through.
The last week,
Weekend, this
Weekend.
past weekend.
obviously Frontier had an issue. It was borough wide. We got an email.
Yeah.
We got an email on something. All I remember reading it is it was a Friday issue, and then they said, the email said they'll be out Monday to deal with it, and then there was supplemental email saying, oops, Monday's holiday, will be out Tuesday, and I remember thinking, was that a big problem, because Frontier's not taking it too serious. But it was more than us, it was a borough, Frontier issue.
As long as you knew about it.
Yes, that was, I remember that email, they got it on Friday. From, I think it was being weird.
That's all I got.
Okay. Let's see. And, again, I don't have anything either. However, just to answer your question pertaining to the date of those entry level interviews, that will be February 29th at 7 p.m.
How many do we have coming in that night?
Still up in the air.
Yeah, it's dependent on the result of the psychological and the polygraph this week. So.
Our guys-
That haven't gone completely through yet.
No, not completely.
And the problem is that, as always, we have a small group that, so I said, well, why don't we wait till they get through? And they're like, the chiefs are already in three other processes, so like literally get them in and offer them right then, so then I could bring them in and be like, rescind your all other processes, and then we'll hire you right away, and just put them in a package to walk around for 3-4 weeks.
The reason our guys have a good feeling about this crop, because I asked them, well, what's the difference a month or two ago when it was struggling for the one that we were having? This crop has a lot of first timers, which is the only way you're getting good candidates. It seems like it's either, this is their first time in the process or their 20th. And those, as you've seen, those tend to get washed. So the problem with first timers is, it's kind of like the unicorn everybody's looking for. We apparently have a couple of them, so that are all.
First
checking
timers always
boxes.
has potential, right?
Yeah, the good ones will get grabbed up, and then the first timers turn into the 20 timers fairly quickly. That's the last guy we just sent to the academy, same thing, Cabral was just first time going through, he happened to, but you got him quick on it.
Fingers crossed. Right. Starting at 7, we could usually get 3 an hour. So probably, if we schedule more than 9, you're gonna be here till.
I think.
I don't think it's gonna be that much.
I don't think it's that much.
Versus 5.
That's all I was asking.
5 or 6, I
We
would
started later than we wanted.
And they all have little nuances, like, they'll pass, psychopoly, but they need another try PT test for the next one, so it's like juggling is a lot more than that.
How far did you get through? I know we were talking about doing the backgrounds on everything before. Did you do things like poly and?
That's what's happening this week.
So you're doing it all, so we're gonna
Correct.
get completing, all the candidates complete. That helps very, so that's good. We appreciate you guys putting that effort in. I do. work out better.
I think it's definitely more efficient this time, so.
Cause then the old way, you wouldn't be getting the 15 or 20, you'd be here for 6 hours, only to find out 3 days later that something, the first 2 hours of their background.
You don't have to keep this.
Clips
I
them
get it.
All right, so we're moving on to item 13. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for discussion of personal matters involving the chief and deputy chief.
So move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Possibility of having, going over the allotment of officers.
I think so.
Unless the